social work and other things. We have an epidemiologist at the New York City Public Health Department. Students are translating internships into permanent positions at organizations like the Ford Foundation. Students are leaders in criminal justice reform and are spearheading innovative new programs at local community organizations. They are rising up the chain in businesses and hiring people behind them who are getting out of prison. They're going into urban farming and urban sustainability and environmental justice fields. They're doing coding and data analysis. They are working as community health workers in clinics or doing research for hospitals. They're making art, so they are reflective of the kinds of things that you expect Bard students, Bard alumni to be doing.
And is that the major way that you would measure the success of the program?
Yeah, I really think that's exactly right. Very often, college and prison programs are evaluated strictly by the students' recidivism rates. BPI students have a very low recidivism rate. It's 2.5% for people who've completed a degree with us. But I think what you said is exactly right, that we really think about measuring success in ways that are similar to how any of us would think about, did we go to a good college? The idea of did it work strikes me as so strange. No one has ever asked me if my college education worked. Yes, thinking about the kinds of scholarly engagement that students do, I think, is a measure of success. Faculty often report that their students inside are some of the most intellectually curious and ambitious students that they've had. So you can think about success in those kinds of ways. And then I think thinking about the kinds of careers and lives that students build post-release is certainly another way to think about that.
And how is this program funded?
In 1994, there was a federal crime bill, that made people in prison ineligible for Pell Grants. And that really stripped away public-funded college and prison programs, both at the federal and the state level. So states sort of followed suit after the federal Pell dollars were rescinded. And so college and prison was actually really quite common before 1994 across the country. When public money disappeared, prison programs basically, shut down overnight almost. And so when Bard started up in the late 1990s, early 2000s, there were very few programs, and we were completely privately funded. We've been completely privately funded through foundations and individual donations for the first 14 years. It was just last year that Bard and many other schools first received federal money again through the Second Chance Pell Initiative that I had mentioned earlier, which is an experimental, they call them experimental sites. Basically, the Secretary of Education has the authority to allow Pell eligibility for populations that typically are barred through legislation through what they call an experimental site. So 67 colleges across the country got this designation as being a Second Chance Pell site, and we're able to get federal Pell dollars through that. There's a new program in New York this past year through the district attorney's office that also is basic public money going into college and prison. So Bard now, for the very first time, has some public money, but it's primarily private, and that's really the case very typically across the country. There are a couple states that have some state-level money for college and prison work. It's very rare, and very rarely are you going to get a university willing to fund the program itself. So most of the programs that are in the consortium are funded primarily, if not exclusively, with private money, and now a little bit of a blend with some of the Second Chance Pell money.
And do you accept donations from individuals if any of our listeners would be interested?
Yes, we absolutely accept donations. This program cannot exist without the private money that supports it, and so much of that private money comes from individual donors. So every year it's sort of an existential question, what we're going to be able to do. And so you can go to the website bpi.bard.edu and follow the links to make a donation. It's tax deductible. It goes through the college.
And we'll put a link for that up on our website.
Great, thanks so much.
Is there anything else that you want to be sure that our listeners know about the BPI initiative, about the consortium, about your women's education initiative?
When I was describing the consortium and the work, one of the things I didn't mention was last year we brought 4 new programs on, but I went back and counted, and we consulted with, largely through phone calls, 21 different colleges and universities around the country, largely professors who called us up and were either, just sort of thinking about starting a program and curious, or maybe in the very first few steps and wanted to talk through some things. So that's actually a large part of what we do, where we spend some serious staff time. And even as this year, I think we are kind of committing ourselves to deepening the existing programs and kind of strategically expanding in a couple core places. We always welcome those kinds of conversations. I can talk about this all day, as Kelly is probably well aware at this point. So faculty who are interested can find us on the website. There's a consortium page on the website, and email consortium@bard.edu. And, we're happy to field questions and talk about the work.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Jessica. This has been a really good conversation, and I'm excited to learn more about what you do, and I think that our listeners will be really interested in this as well.
Thanks so much. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
All right.
Our theme music is called Sweeter Vermouth and was composed by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. It is licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. Our logo was created by Matthew Weflin, expressly for Two Broads Talking Politics, and is copyright 2017. You can contact us at twobroadstalkingpolitics@gmail.com or at twobroadstalk on Twitter. Our podcast can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and TuneIn. Please let us know if you have any trouble finding us.